blockchain over here. I just want to give a brief on how this discussion is going to move forward. So I have curated a list of questions that generally people have about these topics that I'm going to ask Aishwarya, and this is how the discussion will move forward. And whatever questions all of us might have, please write it in the chat box, and Saurabhji will curate them, and we can move to the questions towards the end of the webinar. So moving ahead, the first question that I want to ask Aishwarya is, as we have all heard and everyone has introduced themselves, we are all experienced professionals over here. So why is the need actually to learn something new, and why do we need to know about blockchain technology?
And that's an excellent question to start with, Ayushi. So for that, I have one image in front of all of you, and this image is basically two images which I would like. So we would love to have an engaging audience, and so this is the first question that I would love to ask every one of you. There are two images in front of you. Do you feel that both the images are same or they are different? Just type in a yes if it's the same, or a no if it's not the same. Okay. So basically, these two images are exactly the same. It's just that so what I want to represent from this image is basically our knowledge and our experience. We have great knowledge. We have a very good experience. And what happens is technology is something which comes into the picture, and it swipes away a lot of things, because with technological advancements, what happens, a lot of things, a lot of experiences that we have, if we do not move with the flow, sometimes it so happens that even with the so good and so sound knowledge that we have, sometimes we tend to leave ourselves a little bit behind. So it's exactly that. In the first one, you'll see the bridge is being used to cross the river. And in the second one, the bridge is intact. The bridge has not impacted anything. There is no impact on the bridge. But here what you have seen is the river has changed its course. And now you do not have anything which is the use of a particular bridge. The bridge is useless now because you cannot cross the river. So with that thought, we will go ahead and ask. So I think, Ayushi, you'll have a clear picture of why we need to understand things like that.
Yes, that's a really interesting example. And I think all of us here are experienced and knowledgeable enough to know on which side we want to be.
Ayushi, can you speak a little louder, and we can use a mix of Hindi and English? Sorry to interrupt, but the voice is not very clear.
Just a second.
If admin can mute everybody, it will be better. Actually, there are some lot of background noises. So if admin can mute everybody, and then only speaker can speak. Otherwise, there's a lot of background noise from some people coming.
So am I audible clearly now?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're audible. Just speak a little louder because thoda sa voice dhire aa raha hai.
अच्छा, ठीक है. Okay. So we all know which side we want to be at. We want to be updated with the upcoming technologies. And before diving into the topic of what exactly is blockchain, can you give us a brief history about what is blockchain and how it all started?
Surely. So when we have to understand a new technology which is coming in, we have to relate it to something through which we can go ahead and link it. Today, we know what is blockchain. Even if we know it, we are not able to connect it with what is going on and how when you connect it, you can form synergies. So I'll connect it in a way where you can understand what exactly is blockchain in the most simplest form. Internet. Internet has been with us since 4 decades, and internet has given us a lot of things, like, for example, .com word, social media, big data, cloud computing, and the early days of IoT, which is Internet of Things. And the three things that internet has helped us a lot is in reducing is the cost of search. Today, we can search anything on Google. Second, cost of collaborations. Right now, I'm sitting in one city, and I guess most of the participants are from all different cities, and we are still collaborating and we are still here. And the last one is it has been able to help us with the spread information across the globe. So for that, internet has given us everything. For the flow of information, internet is the best. But when we talk about moving anything apart from information, what about moving money? What if we want to move money? Can we do it on the internet without relying on a third party? That is the main question. कोई थर्ड पार्टी के बिना हम क्या आज पैसा कहीं भी मूव कर पा रहे हैं? The answer is no. और उससे बड़ी बात, आज सबसे बड़ी बात जो इंटरनेट पे हमको प्रॉब्लम है वो ये है, we are not able to establish trust with anyone, because anyone can be behind a screen, he can switch off his camera and claim to be anyone, and we have no ways to identify them. And even after that, when we are there are people who come ahead and they ask for money, or they want to do transactions. Like today, if I want to do a transaction with someone in Dubai, how do I trust that person if I've met him online? So ease of business is there, but how do you establish that trust to do that business? My business has reached Dubai, but now I want to trust that person before I go ahead and I do these transactions. So for that, what we have today is these third parties or these intermediaries. For example, if you're making a payment to me, and when you're making the payment, there is a gateway that is used. For example, agar Razorpay we use it, so Razorpay we have to give in our name, our email ID, our phone number, our credit or debit card details, and a whole lot of things. But अल्टीमेटली मुझे क्या मिल रहा है? मुझे बस वो पैसे मिल रहे हैं जो मेरे पास आ रहे हैं, और एक नाम मिल रहा है कि हाँ इसने आपको इतने पैसे दिए. अगर मैं कोई अगर मेरी तरफ से मैं कोई चीज दे रहा हूं तो मुझे वो पूरी इन्फॉर्मेशन मिलनी चाहिए, Razorpay को नहीं. बट दिस इज नॉट हैपनिंग. They are accumulating the information. That is the one thing. And another thing is they're charging me for that 2%, 3%, sometimes 5%. Stripe charges me something around 5%. So we are losing that money as well. So internet is capable of moving information, but internet is not capable of moving money. That is where the blockchain comes in. Blockchain is just a layer over the internet which enables the movement of assets over the internet. आज अगर मुझे यहाँ से किसी को पैसे यूएस में भेजने हैं, तो मैं with the help of internet and blockchain, I can send it through within 5 seconds. I don't even need any central authority or any banks to move that fund. So that is what something that blockchain is building. And another thing, which is the last one, that internet promised to bring in financial inclusion. It wanted everyone to be included in it, everyone to be financially included, because internet is available everywhere across the globe. But this never happened. There are still 2.5 billion people who are not even there on the internet or in the financial inclusion. They do not have a bank account, or there are some countries which do not even have a bank at all. So there is something, people do not have a bank account, but these people have internet. And if they have internet, blockchain can enable a lot of things for them. So that is why we needed something called blockchain.
Okay, so that was an amazing explanation. And now we understand how blockchain is different and more enabling than internet. So Aishwarya, can you just give us a more real life example, more relatable for us, that we might face it on a day-to-day basis before getting into the technical jargons of the blockchain?
Sure. So I'll give an example, because we have a community, we have a non-profit here. So let's take an example of a non-profit here. Let's assume we want to organize an event. We are organizing an event, by the way, we're from in Pune. And let's say whatever the money that is coming in and whatever the expenses that are happening, everyone wants to check and everyone wants to see a fair view of that money, so that no one comes at the end, because it happens at every event. No matter how good the event is, no matter how blasting the event is, everyone is so satisfied. They will always say, there is something that got missed, or there is some money that we don't know where it was allocated, something like that. So let's assume we create a Google sheet. I am taking the example of Google just to make it understandable. Google has no relation here with blockchain. So what we do, let's say we are 100 people who are coming in, for example. And so what we do is we take their email IDs, we create a Google sheet. And in that Google sheet, what we do, we give everyone access. So now let's say Saurabh sir goes ahead and he does an expense, or he buys something for that particular event. He uploads it in that particular event in that Google sheet. As soon as he uploads it, what happens is all the 100 people get a copy, get a notification, something has been uploaded by Saurabh. That is done. So everyone gets a copy of that data. And later on, there are 100 people, maybe 10 people in the organization committee. So all people, they are doing all those expenses. And more and more they do the expenses, they just upload all the evidence and all the amount, so that everyone can see where exactly is the amount being used. So that is how they do all this activity. And this is how I relate it to the blockchain. So exactly like the Google Sheet, what happens, anything that you just uploaded here is going to be staying there. Just that in Google, you can edit it, you can delete it. But here, once you have uploaded anything on a block and it has been approved, what happens is it is timestamped. Timestamp means you cannot edit it. So for example, let's say let's say Ayushi, you are in the committee, and instead of 10,000 rupees, what happens, you just go ahead and just change that amount to 11,000 rupees. So as soon as you do it, first of all, in Google Sheet, you can do it, just that everyone will be notified. But what happens here is, here in blockchain, you cannot do it because you do not have any rights to do it. You just have the right to add data. You cannot edit it. You cannot delete it. You cannot modify it. That means anything that you have added on the Google Sheet, and once it has been approved and put on a block, you cannot fiddle with it. You can add more data. So for example, if it was actually 11,000 and you forgot to add 1,000. So later on, what you will do is you will do an additional entry which says, okay, 1,000 more. So everyone will know that, okay, earlier it was 10,000, now it is 11,000, and there is a proper explanation. So you can see that now here we have an immutable data. And the last thing, let's say Saurabh loses his phone. There are still 99 people who still have a copy of that data, which means it is managed by a cluster of computers. It is not at a single point of time, at a single place, but it is managed by a cluster of computers. And that is exactly why Bitcoin is so trustable. It is the data that Bitcoin manages is managed by over 100,000 people across the globe. So here, until and unless more than 51% or more people come in and they go ahead and change that data or decide to change that data at a single point of time, they cannot go ahead and edit that data. So that is how secure this is. And then last, like Google owns that Google Sheet, but here in a public blockchain, nothing is owned by a single entity. So a blockchain is basically what? A blockchain is, the blockchain network has no central authority. There is no central authority that is required. And that is why it is known as a democratized system. And it is shared and immutable, like we already saw. कि हमने एक बार अगर Google Sheet में data upload कर दिया तो वहाँ तो change कर सकते थे. But blockchain enabled technologies में we cannot do it. So that is another advantage. And it is shared. And the information is open to anyone and everyone to see. Like Google Sheet में तो हम लोगों ने 100 लोगों को access दिया था. But if I today want to go ahead and I want to see whatever data has been written on Bitcoin network till date, the total data is around 260 to 70 GB of data right now. You can download the whole data and you can check all the data. Even the first block. Even the first block. This is the first block that I have on your screen. Even that block is also available here. So we will talk it out in the next question, I guess. But that is what I want to say here. The information is open for anyone and everyone to see. And hence anything built on a blockchain with its very nature is transparent and auditable. That is something, that is why we say in the accounting world, this is something, if we are able to establish this kind of an audit trail, we won't see any other satyams that happening around us or any more such things happening around us. I guess that gives a clear idea of what blockchain is.
Yes, definitely. I think this is one of the most easiest explanations of this complex technology that is coming up. And I'm sure it will bring up a lot of advantages also. So another important question here is, when we talk about blockchain, we cannot leave behind the word Bitcoin. And these two are really closely associated mostly. And people also tend to think sometimes that ये दोनों क्या same चीज है, मतलब are they interchangeable, or what is the difference between Bitcoin and blockchain basically?
Okay, and yeah, it's not some people, it's almost 99% of the people that are there that they get confused and they feel that blockchain and Bitcoin is the same. And one question that I quickly want to ask everyone is, which came first? Is the blockchain that came first or the Bitcoin that came first? For Bitcoin, you can say BI. For blockchain, you can say BL. Okay. Here is where I say most of the people are not getting it correct. Actually, Bitcoin came into picture first. Bitcoin is the first thing that came into the picture in 2009. Blockchain was coined basis what Bitcoin possessed. So pehle blockchain nahi aaya tha, pehle Bitcoin aaya tha. Bitcoin came into picture first. It was created by Satoshi Nakamoto, and that Satoshi Nakamoto, who is that? We don't know. It can be an individual, it can be a group of people, it can be anybody, it could be hacker or anyone. And there is a very good theory that goes behind, where people say that the picture on the screen, Mr. Elon Musk, he is the creator of Bitcoin. But we don't know. He has never moved his funds. He has no digital presence after 2010. He logged off in 2010, and after that he was never seen. Even his first block, which is the Genesis block that you see on the screen, is the block which he wrote at the first. This is the first block that was ever written. And he actually timed it here, where he said that he quoted one of the headlines from the Times on 3rd January 2009, where he says, Chancellor on brink of a second bailout on banks, which is exactly something that happened yesterday in US again. So history is repeating, you can say. And this is something where he actually had a thought process where he wanted to say that why should banks be trusted because of all the scams and everything that emerged in 2008-9. So his thought process was, why should banks be trusted, or government be trusted? Because even with the trust that we have placed, we are still in a recession. We are still seeing so much collapse in the total net worth of a lot of people. So his thought process was this, and based on this, he created something called Bitcoin. And the first transaction, like you saw, happened in 2009, January 3rd. And this actually something people came to know about Bitcoin, the bigger community or the wider community started to know about Bitcoin after 2009, when there was a transaction that happened, that there was a purchase of a pizza. And there, what happened was 10,000. I have written it 1,000. I don't know why. There are 10,000 BTCs that was passed out. So somebody just randomly said on Facebook, I'll pay you 10,000 BTC if you feed me 2 pizzas, and that is it. So that is what he said. And believe me, someone just took it up, and he delivered 2 pizzas. And today, these 2 pizzas are worth more than $72 million. So that is the value, that is the worth, that is what he lost right at that point of time. So that is what is Bitcoin. It's not the same as blockchain.
Yes, I think a major misconception has been cleared over here, that Bitcoin is just one of the use cases of blockchain, and they are completely two different things. So another heated conversation that comes up nowadays all over the internet is, now people have started taking Bitcoin also as an investment to park their money. So, and as Indians, we all love our gold. So the two major things that is coming up is comparison between Bitcoin and gold. So according to you, do you think it is a valid comparison to compare gold, that is something physical that we have all loved always, and comparing Bitcoin with gold actually?
Absolutely. So there is one thing about gold. We all love gold, and Indians have the biggest reserves of gold, and we all love it. And so there's the one basic question that I have. Why is gold gold? Why was gold chosen actually to be the gold, or why it is so valuable today? So I have a hypothesis, or I have the actual way through which it was actually chosen as a gold. So let's take the whole periodic table that was there. In that periodic table, we have, first of all, gases. We cannot keep oxygen as a medium of exchange. So remove all those gases that are there, something around so many gases that are there in the periodic table. We remove it. The second thing is, we cannot have corrosive metals or reactive metals, first of all, to be there. So that what happens here, we again remove 38 metals from the periodic table. Once they go away, we have another thing, something which cannot be corrosive, like copper. We cannot have it. And we also cannot have something which is very rare in the way like osmium. So if osmium is something which is found in meteorite, so we cannot have something like that rare as a medium of exchange. So we discard something around 26 more things from the elements from the periodic table. Now, after removing all these things, there are 5 things that are left: rhodium, palladium, platinum, silver, and gold. Rhodium and palladium were never discovered until late 1880s. So now 3 things are left: platinum, gold, and silver. Platinum is something which the pre-industrial furnaces were not able to process because of the high melting point that it had. remove platinum. Now there are two things left, silver and gold. Now silver is something which tarnishes very easily. You keep silver in the open for let's say 1 day, and you will see there's a little bit of tarnishing that starts to happen. Goes away silver. Now what is left is gold. It's not that gold was gold at some point of time. Gold was chosen because there was no other choice at the time. This barter trade system that was going on was present. So that is why gold was chosen. And then we attached our sentimental values that we had with it. And obviously, nobody can replace the physical gold, the ornaments. We cannot put in bitcoins around our necks. We always want gold for that. So that is something that is a very valid thing. Gold is important, but what Bitcoin has been, the comparison that has been, so gold was chosen because of this. Gold is something which you can go ahead and which is scarce in nature, which is durable, which is portable, which is divisible, and obviously fungible means that it is divisible as in even smaller portions. It is hard to counterfeit. You cannot counterfeit gold, and it is very easy to authenticate. So if with all these properties, gold was the obvious choice, and people saw it as an investment option, and they still see it because its value has been appreciating at a normal pace. But what about Bitcoin? Is Bitcoin something better than gold? Or is some Bitcoin? So I'm not talking about whether Bitcoin is better than gold or whether Bitcoin is going to be the gold, but let's talk about a little bit of the properties of the of Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's supply is limited. There is just 21 million Bitcoins that are there. You can always find a new reserve of gold which can have more than 10 metric ton of new gold. So gold reserves can still come out, but Bitcoin supply is exactly 21 millions. Now, why this is 21 million? We have no answer because Satoshi never answered this. And most probably the speculation that is there, they say that this is because the computer codes that were written by Satoshi, they had a maximum limit up to which they could go. That is why we have 21 million coins. Now, how these coins come into existence? Now, for gold, you have to mine that gold. You have to set up that apparatus. You have to set up all those things, and then you mine gold. So you have a huge cost involved in mining gold. And similarly, here you have a huge cost when you mine Bitcoins as well. Now, how Bitcoins come into picture? When this software Genesis block that was put into the picture, at that point of time, Genesis block, we particularly have a software which mines Bitcoins. And that is basically once you put a block on the Bitcoin network, that is exactly what is mining. So once you put that, you get rewarded for every block that you have mined just. So it started in 2008 and 9. At that time, the block reward was 50 Bitcoins at that point of time. So the first block, this Genesis block that we just saw, that has around 68 Bitcoin, something around lying still there. No, Satoshi hasn't withdrew these balances. So that is 50 Bitcoins, but every 4 years, the supply gets halved. So in 2008, it was 50 Bitcoins. In 2012, it was 25. And today, in 2020, we had the last halving, which is now 6.25 Bitcoins for every new block that has been mined. So that is how you see the supply is going down. Because for every block that has been mined, first it was 50, now it is 6.25, and in 2024, it will be 3.125. And that is how the last Bitcoin that is going to be mined is in 2140, around more than 100 years from now. That is the last Bitcoin when it would be mined. That is an approximation. So that is why we see that the supply is going down, which was one of the biggest reasons. As soon as in July, this halving happened, in October, November, we started seeing the shoot up prices. That was the first reason. The second reason majorly was because of the huge consumption by PayPal. PayPal started the services. So in order to give that services, he had to hold some Bitcoins for them. They bought in Grayscale and a lot of investment firms. They went ahead, they bought in gold Bitcoins. Now supply is limited. New supply is coming in lesser, but the consumption of that supply that is already in the market, or the new supply that is coming in, that has again started to reduce because of the huge demand that was created because of this. And this is the reason why suddenly there was a huge spike in the prices of Bitcoins, because the supply started to shrink and the demand, earlier in 2018 was the retail demand, which were we people fear very easy. If there is a 20% decline, we would generally want to pull our funds. But these people, they are in for the big game. And so because of that, what happens is they do not sell out. And every time what happens is there is a correction that happens, and 30% correction is a normal thing in crypto market. So a 30% correction happens there. People, a lot of retail investors, they fear and they leave. And what happens? Institutions buy in even more. So that is why this is the major reason why the prices are surging even high. And yesterday, the bailout packages that are coming in, there's a very good meme that goes out, and it says the government, US government, has given $1,600 to someone. And in that $1,600, they say to buy food and living. What they do is they take that money and they put it in Bitcoin and all those things. And even if you had invested your last paycheck, which was $1,200 somewhere, so that has already turned into $6,400 till now. So that is what people are doing. And yesterday we had 1.9 trillion already pumping into the market. The US has already approved that bailout. So most probably that will also be a booster. So that is why the prices are fluctuating that way.
Okay, so seeing this graph, it's really interesting to see how the price of gold has increased, and it's looks quite stable. But the graph of Bitcoin like looks quite crazy. And I'll just give my example. Like when I started knowing about the subject, that is just a few months ago, the price of Bitcoin was some 8 lakhs. And today, before the webinar, when I checked, it was 33 lakhs. And
Right.
within a span of 3 to 4 months, I think it's a huge jump that has happened. So I think you've already explained the factors why the price of Bitcoin is so volatile. So the next question I have for you here is, let's move ahead from Bitcoin and blockchain only. So I've read on the internet that blockchain can also enable a lot of automations. So which now this comes as a sensitive topic, and automations, as we know, can lead to job losses. So what is your take on blockchain coming into the picture, and something different from not only Bitcoin but automations that can come in and change what change it can bring in our lives?
Exactly. So what happens is Bitcoin, like I said, is just one use case which is there. And there is a whole lot of ocean that is around for blockchain. So automations happen. So we have just talked about Bitcoin. There is another one, which is the second biggest one, which is Ethereum. I think everyone would have known these two names at least. So when we talk about Ethereum, what exactly is Ethereum? Ethereum is kind of a supercomputer that we have, where what we do is we pull in or we put in something called a smart contract. Okay, what exactly is a smart contract? I'll again try and explain it with a very simple example. Let's say I want to send Saurabh $1,200, and that $1,200, I don't want to pay him upfront. I want to say, Saurabh, I'll pay you $100 every month for the next 12 months. And Saurabh says, okay, so how do I do it today? I go to a bank and I create an escrow. There is a $1,200. There is an escrow account created. That $1,200 is put in an escrow account, and then there is a lawyer or a banker who will ensure that this $100 goes, and there will be a mandate that is going to be created, and a lot of things. You end up spending 5-10% just for creating all these things, or even more. So this is how this is done here. Now a smart contract is just a code. What it does is it works on a condition: what if, then if. So what if means if this is the condition that is fulfilled, you do this thing. That is it. That is exactly what it is. Nothing else, nothing more, nothing less. So what it requires, it requires at least 2 people. So I and Saurabh are 2 people. We can have the whole MVP, or we can have the whole world coming into a contract. There is no limit to the upper limit. So that is the first thing. Everything is written on a code. Smart contract is stored on blockchain. The biggest powerhouse, or the biggest house of smart contracts, is Ethereum. 93 or 94% of the contracts, or the things that are done, that the projects that run on the smart contracts are done on Ethereum. The new entrants are BNB, which is Binance Chain. That is also one of the other solutions. Polkadot is also another solution, where they are using parachains to boost up the speed of Ethereum. So fourth one is ADA. ADA is also founded and is co-founded by one of the founders of Ethereum. So they are also trying to boost up the chain. So that is why these are all the competitors. If you would have heard, these are all the top market cap people that I'm trying to tell you. And that is why their value is increasing, because they are enabling a lot of things. Some deficiencies that are there in Ethereum, they are being completed by Polkadot or BNB and all those things. So this is something that is happening around us. And what happens? So this is all the terms are written on a code. on a in a blockchain. And the fourth one is smart contract executes itself on the events of trigger. Now you would have heard something called oracles. Or oracles, I'm not talking about the software. I'm talking about oracles. Oracles is basically, so when you write these contracts, so if I'm writing this contract in my laptop, I will not want this contract to interact outside. Or I will not want to go ahead and I will not want it to see whatever is there in my computer, because everyone is seeing this whole supercomputer. So what happens, any smart contract that is being written on an Ethereum is inside the system. You cannot go ahead and you cannot send information from there. So for that, you need something which can communicate with the outside world. So for this $1,200, what will happen? I will deposit this $1,200 in the smart contract itself. And this smart contract will check every day, every moment, when is the first date of that particular month coming. And how it will do it? It will do it with the help of that oracles. Oracles are the way through which they communicate. So this is the way where they will go out and they will see what is the date that is there today. And based on that, every first Saurabh will get in his public address $100 without me even checking, without me even seeing, because once a smart contract is executed on a blockchain, it cannot be changed. It cannot be something which can be modified until and unless all the parties agree to it. So that is what smart contract does. And because of this, there are a lot of opportunities that are there. And there are 4 phases quickly, which is search phase, negotiation phase, performance phase, and post-performance phase. Simply like today, right now, I'm searching an Uber. That is the search phase. Then once I found the Uber, I would decide I will negotiate onto which kind of Uber I want to pick up according to the rates. That is the negotiation phase. Third phase is the performance phase, where the Uber driver will take me to the point where I want to go. That is the performance phase. And then when you give the reviews, that is the post-performance phase, your reviews and your grievances and everything. So smart contract is enabling all these 4 phases.
Okay, this is how automation is blockchain is gonna help in automation. We've understood. I think even from the start of the webinar, many people have this question in their mind that what about India? India is planning to bring its own central bank digital currency, and India wants to have its own cryptocurrency. So what do you think about that?
Sure. So I'll just take one more minute before I move on to that. I want to talk about some of the use cases that are there. So I think everyone, like record sharing, which is directly related to accounting, trading activities, which is our stock market. And by the way, we have already suggested, there is a group that has already suggested SEBI to bring in blockchain, to adopt blockchain. Just that the problem is, if they are able to implement it completely, there would be no need of NSDL and CDSL. So that is something that is in consideration right now. Supply chain, we have Trades platform, which is already using smart contracts. There is a company called Montego in US, which the technology of which is being used by Trades platform. Real estate market, something where in Dubai, they have already implemented it. In India, they are waiting for the technology to be adopted and the things to be brought on digital platform. Today, our house, all the property papers and everything, they're not digital. So we are just waiting for it. Dubai has already implemented it. And the power is that in 1 hour, you can possibly sell and purchase any plot of land that is there on that particular blockchain. It has all the land records, it has all the bodies that are there, government bodies, all the electricity board and everyone that is there. So everyone is there. And so all these things, government voting, US has already started it. Insurance claims in UK, we have already something which is working on insurance claim. These are all live examples. These are not something that I'm just making up. IoT, where electricity, we have power grids in Rajasthan, and I think recently in Lucknow as well. They've just collaborated with a blockchain company to distribute power with the help of blockchain. So all these things, smart contracts are enabling a lot of things where intermediaries were there. So that is why it kills a lot of jobs which were there for intermediaries as well. But there are new opportunities that we are going to discuss. So that was something which I wanted to emphasize on the use cases. And then a lot of people say that, okay, blockchain is not there in India. And okay, so blockchain is not there in India. So this is a map which I want to show you by the government. I do not want to go about PSUs. I do not want to go about any other body. What I want to go about is public sector, which is the government itself. So here you can see on the screen, we have more than 50% of the states that have already adopted or are working on blockchain solutions. Yes, more than 50% states. And I believe everyone who is here, we would be belonging to one or the other state, somewhere or the other. So we have already implemented it. The government is working tirelessly on land records. They're planning to put all the records on of land records. Imagine the number of civil cases that will reduce. So many civil cases of criminal cases are there on land registries. So those are the things that is going to be reformed. And we are an agricultural.
ये किस में लेना, थैले में लेना कि ऐसे ले लूं?
We are an agricultural economy. So what happens is, if we are in an agricultural economy, we need farm insurances. Farm insurances today, I know it takes months to be disbursed. The amount needs to be disbursed and it takes months to reach the farmers. So government is working on that as well. And the third thing is records. So records, the certificates that you get. There is so much जहाँ पे हम लोग फर्जी सर्टिफिकेट्स बना देते हैं, फर्जी सर्टिफिकेट्स चल रहे हैं, and उसको ऑथेंटिकेट करने का कोई तरीका नहीं है. Blockchain is working in it in a very big way. Indian startups have come in for this, and everything that is happening. So they are trying to do all these things. So these are the top 3 priorities that they are trying to do. Apart from that, they are trying to put in healthcare on it, and vehicle registration, power sharing, and a lot more things. So Indian government is deep into blockchain. If people are thinking that blockchain is something that is yet to come, this map shows you that it is already well plotted into the Indian map. And now comes the question that you have asked, which was CBDT. So what happens, or what exactly is there? So there are 3 types of digital currencies. One is virtual currency, one is cryptocurrency, and another is CBDC. So the thought process where we think that, okay, India is going to bring its own Bitcoin or its own cryptocurrency, that stands null and void. What exactly is the virtual currency? We play games, we play games like Clash of Clans or something like that, or poker, or all those online games where there is no real money. It's just for our fun. We play Ludo and all those things. It's just for our fun. So when we do that, basically what exactly is that? That is virtual money, which has no, generally it is not redeemable, but there are some places where it is redeemable, but that is what is virtual currency. The second one is cryptocurrencies. Cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and Ethereum and everything that I just told you, those are cryptocurrencies. That's a form of a digital currency which relies on the cryptographic functions. Like I told you, it is secured. All these functions are secured. Like Bitcoin is secured by SHA-256 algorithm. And this is something which has also been adopted by the security mechanism, has also been adopted by the GST Council. So the big bills that you see today, where you are getting a hash, random hash, that 64-digit hash, that is a security mechanism of Bitcoin itself. So that government is using it. It lacks regulatory oversight because it is managed by the people, and then and there is no physical backing. So you do not have any backing of Bitcoin in today's world. So that is cryptocurrency. So we are not working on creating our own cryptocurrency. We are working on creating our own CBDC. Now, what exactly is the CBDC? It is something which will be exactly like the 100 rupee note that we have. So we give 100 rupee note to the RBI. RBI gives us 100 tokens, or let's say 1 token for 100 rupee, whatever it is there. So they give you a token for that. And based on whatever transactions that we do today, it is going to be exactly the same. And they have named it as Lakshmi. Lakshmi is the name of the coin that India is coming up with. It's going to be pegged to INR, and there'll be no fluctuations. It would not be at one day it is 1 rupee, then tomorrow it is 50 paisa or 3 rupee. It is going to be 1 rupee always, and it is being backed by the central government. The advantages, first of all, you cannot counterfeit these CBDCs. So terror funding, counterfeit notes, and all those things, they go away. The second biggest advantage of this is, if there is no these terror fund, the printing cost and the managing cost of physical notes that is there, that goes away, because you do not have to print so much notes. You do not have to have that bigger infrastructure to transport that notes. All those things, you do not need that. So that is the second biggest advantage. And the third or the fourth biggest advantage is, when you have a digital currency, this is not going to be developed on a blockchain. This is going to be developed on a wider network, which is known as distributed ledgers. So imagine there is an ocean. वो उस ocean का नाम है distributed ledgers. अब उस ocean से we have pulled out a river. That river is blockchain, and in that river we have pulled out a mug of water, that is Bitcoin. So that is what exactly it is. And then when we talk about this, the traceability. So everything that we are trying to do, and this can be seen as a threat to the privacy, but also from the government's points of view, this can be seen as something where they can track. So today we have so less taxpayers in the country, while there are a lot of people who earn a lot more, but they're not paying taxes. If government is able to check, if the central authority or the RBI is able to track everything, now what will happen is they will be able to see what exactly where everyone is spending their money, and taxing everyone would be very easy. So that is one of the another benefit, which was going to be the biggest one for the government. And the only backlog or the only problem that I particularly see, हमारी कोई privacy नहीं रह जाएगी, because we would all be everything that is we are doing. So we will have to think twice before doing everything. Okay, I am doing this, I'm going there, I'm doing there, because most probably government knows everything. So that is why China is working very fast on this. They have been putting it in like for more than 5 years. They've already been building it. They have now come to a state of POC where they are testing it in with certain vendors, top class vendors, along with in a particular city. But India, personally, what I feel is we have just seen words or articles being said, but where exactly it is India, based on those articles, I cannot comment कि कब हम लोग उस particular CBDC तक पहुंचेंगे. China को अगर 6 साल 7 साल लगे, most probably India will also take a little bit time. When it will happen, based on the articles, I cannot comment. So that is what India is planning for a CBDC.
Okay, talking about articles and news, there's a buzz around that Bitcoin will be banned, and Bitcoin को ban कर देना चाहिए, या there is something new every day that is coming up from the government, and there's a lot of confusion and people get confused कि what is going to happen exactly, क्या ये ban हो जाने वाला है? What do you think about that?
See, what happens is I have the only legal documents that are there, and news cycle has been overhyped everywhere. So what happens, they will put in a headline, Bitcoin is going to be banned, and the next line, the subline that you will see is allegedly or some unclaimed sources and something like that. So what they are trying to do is they're trying to create something which is not even there. So there are 3 official things that have been done. So I'll take you towards the history. In 2018, RBI came out with a circular asking banks not to honor anything where the virtual currencies or the cryptocurrencies were there, and if someone was encashing them through bank accounts, that came into picture. It was not termed as illegal or nothing. I had fought around more than 100 cases just based on this. There was no evidence that could be produced by the income tax. So that was there, where it could be said as illegal. In 2020, last year in the month of March, the Supreme Court quashed it and said, asked RBI to produce evidence how it is hampering or it is having a negative impact on the economy or the banking system on a whole. RBI has still not submitted any response on that. And then what happens is in this parliament session, we have to put out all the bills that we are going to be discussed that are supposedly going to be discussed here. तो हम लोगों ने वही किया. उसमें 12th नंबर पे there was a bill which was known as the Cryptocurrency and the Regulation of Official Digital Currency Bill 2021. अब इस बिल में क्या बोला गया? To create a facilitative framework for creation of an official digital currency to be issued by the RBI, which we just discussed, the CBDC. And then also seeks to prohibit, the only word that they have used is seeks to prohibit all private cryptocurrencies in India. However, it allows for certain exceptions to promote the underlying technology of cryptocurrencies and its usage. So that was brought onto the table and started. There was a lot of speculation that Bitcoin is going to be banned and everything is going to be banned. There is based on the unofficial sources, again, like every newspaper, I'm also quoting unofficial sources. What happens is there is still consideration that is going on. All the people, all the markets, so based on the connections that I have in the ministry, we are discussing all things. There is no such bill that has been drafted, and the discussion based on banned. There were 2 more further communications that were done. The first one was by Shri Sanjay Raut, and here what he says is whether the government is aware that many businesses are using cryptocurrency for international transactions during last 1 year, and if so, please respond that if you have the data, please give us that data. And then whether government is considering the possibility of introducing its own cryptocurrency. So for the first answer, the answer was received as no. We have nothing where we know about such businesses. And the second thing is so that is there. And the second one is when the government is planning to introduce its own cryptocurrency. The answer.
Aishwarya, I have muted you. Sorry, by mistake. You can unmute yourself because there was disturbance.
Not a problem.
Yeah. Okay.
So that is something that happened, and so here government said that they have no information about it, and then there was another thing that was asked in Rajya Sabha, which was whether in fact a ban was imposed and it has been lifted by the Supreme Court itself, and whether that ban was only lifted for Bitcoin or others, and whether after this RBI's notice, whether there is an instance or there is a report that says the use of illicit activities or the illegal trading that was happening even
नमस्ते
this
चल गाड़ी की सफाई करवा रहा यहाँ पानी आता है क्या यहाँ तक
I think there is a lock you can put in the security. Wait, I'll put that. Yeah. So basically now what happens is here again the government said that in fact they know that this particular ban has been lifted by the Supreme Court. There is no such ban, and for the second thing, they have no data about whether there has been any increase or decrease in the trading. So based on this, we started approaching the government and trying to explain it, because there were a lot of misconceptions that are going around, people thinking that Bitcoin is going to replace RBI. That is the biggest myth that is going around, that it is going to replace RBI, which is absolutely false. It is not going to be replacing anything which is there in the RBI. So these were the things that were there. Apart from all these things, there is nothing which is there which is on a legitimate paper or backed by the government here or any. So everything that you're getting is under false pretenses. Like this, there is unofficial sources claiming that from SEBI that people should be offloading their cryptos if they're planning for an IPO, or RBI coming in and saying. So all these things are unofficial. There's no official word that has come out. So, and based on that, what has happened is, like everywhere, in every business that happens, there are people who are coming in and who are putting out notices. So it's not that just the block people who are trading in Bitcoin, they are getting the notices. Everyone with every business, they tend to get such notices. And because of that, these are the things that they're going to ask you as well. So for example, they're going to ask you all the wallet IDs of yours or your family members. What are the sources of fund that you use? And based on what sources of funds have you invested? Tell us the sources of fund and what are the profit and losses that you have made. And believe me, this is one of the hardest thing to find out, what exactly, how have you made the profit or how have you had the loss? Because it is a 24/7 market. And like in the stock market today, we have, like, let's say I bought a Reliance share for 1980 and I sold that Reliance share for 2020. I know there is a 40 rupee gain. But in cryptocurrency, what happens? They are divisible. So if I talk about Bitcoin, it is divisible by 1,000,000. So let's say I bought in 1 Bitcoin and then later I sold off 0.007 Bitcoin, and I did not encash it in INR. And what I did was I bought in another crypto from that. So now that chain becomes very difficult, and that is something that is a very big opportunity for chartered accountants around the globe to work here and create something. So we are, like we also discussed, we are building something on that as well. So this is something that they ask, and then the trading ledgers and accounts and everything that they ask, and the bank accounts under 131(1)(a), they are trying to ask the maximum bank accounts that you have to supply from financial year 12-13. So that is the maximum that they can go. They will ask all those reasons. That is normal. And if you haven't done any of these illicit activities, so there are 3 things if you haven't done, you don't have to worry about. First is, if you haven't done any local trading, a local encashing of Bitcoin. So for example, you went out to a local dealer and you sold off your Bitcoin and he gave you cash. That is something which will land you in a problem because it leaves digital footprint. Second is, if you are launching projects on blockchain, like I told you, on the smart contracts kind of projects, in where you are trying to dupe someone, you're trying to take away money, you're trying to do something where you do not have any intention of a good project, but you're trying to dupe others. That is the second one. And the third one is, once you have done these 2, or you have tried to use mixers. Now, what is mixer? Mixer is something like, assume I have a bucket of water, and what I do is once what we do is, we have 10 people holding 1 mug of water. So we put 10 mugs of water into that bucket. Now, when we withdraw that water, we don't know whose water was kept where. It is all mixed. So that is a mixer. So what you do is, you send your transactions through a mixer. And what happens, once it comes out, you don't know from which Bitcoin it has gone to where. So that is where the people are, the government is facing difficulties in order to track them. And this is like a powerhouse of illegal activities. All the scams that are happening, all the things like the Twitter scam that happens, where the people are trying to ask you, okay, how many, how you send me $2, $10 worth of Bitcoin, I'll send you $20 of Bitcoin. These are the scams that you generally see everywhere on Twitter. So all these things, so they try to encash all these things through a Vavasi or these mixer wallets. So if these three things are something that you have not done, there is nothing to worry about.
Okay, so looking at your what you just discussed, I feel regulation is something that is very important by government. I mean, this is for sure that Bitcoin cannot be banned until you just shut the internet, and it's just gonna keep happening. So the most important thing here, I feel, is that the government brings in regulation. So, what are your thoughts, or what do you think? How close the government is in actually bringing something like that?
So regulations are something they're all working on, and most probably in this session or maybe in the monsoon session, they would be coming up with the regulations or ban. We do not know again, but we are everyone is trying to point out if there's something like that happens. So officially it will be banned. Unofficially, you cannot ban Bitcoin because it runs on the internet. Like I at the starting told you, it runs on the internet. So you will have to shut down the whole internet for this. The whole internet for this. And until and unless you do that, you will not be able to stop Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency for that sake. So that is why regulation is something which is important, where we should be thinking about it, because regulations are very much important. But if we are planning to think, or if we are planning to go ahead and we are planning to think that, okay, we will ban and everything will go and everything will there, believe me, because I have a lot of a lot of chatter that happens. People are in caching, will still do all those illegitimate things. Nigeria tried it, by the way. Last month, Nigeria tried to ban Bitcoin. What happened? The trading of Bitcoin in Nigeria surged by 70%. 70% more trading happened in 1 month. So basically what they had traded for the whole month, they've traded that amount in just 1 month. That is the biggest fact that comes out. And the second thing is the transfer of Bitcoin. So there is a gray market that has been created where the Bitcoin's price has risen by 30%. So you're getting the 33 lakh Bitcoin, you're getting it at, let's say, 42 or 45 lakh rupees, but everything is going on as it was before. So that is, if a ban comes in, this is going to happen in India as well. So that is why we do not support, I personally do not support ban.
Okay, so understanding everything about Bitcoin and blockchain now, I would like to know how we can upgrade ourselves, or the technology is changing so fast. So what are the ways and what are the job opportunities that might come up in the coming 1 to 5 years? Because this blockchain thing is coming up in a really big way. So how, as finance professionals, what are the jobs that we can look into?
See, all the job roles that we have been doing, these are going to remain the same. Like, for example, we have M&A and equity research analysts that are there in finance domain. So there is public blockchain research that is coming in. So there are few companies that are even hiring in India. They are somewhere based outside India, but they are hiring within India. So the public blockchain research, where you research on a particular blockchain and you suggest your clients whether they should be investing on it or not. And that is one thing. Then product development, that's on the sales side, where people are the MBA in sales and product development and design. They can, in the new products that are coming in, there are a lot of products that are coming in. People who understand blockchain is something which are very rare in the market, because it's just the start. It's just not even a decade of blockchain that has been there, and it has to be at least 2 more decades where we establish something like an internet on blockchain. So that is something that is there, so where you can go ahead. And then there is blockchain consultants. There are a lot of enterprise solutions that are there, like Corda, Hyperledger, and all these things, enterprise Ethereum solutions. So where you need a lot of people who understand this technology to suggest. So when we suggest it to the corporates that we have, whether they should be implementing blockchain, and if so, which particular solutions is something that they should be focusing on. So that is another consultancy services that you can add a new wing to. And crypto tax experts, like for the people in practice, this is the blockchain consultants and the crypto tax experts is something which is going to be a boom. I see so many people, they do not know how to tax it. They feel like if I'm holding crypto, I have to pay tax. There are so many misconceptions, because these are kids. There are a lot of kids. I've met 17, 18 years of kids who have more than in virtual currencies, who have crores and crores of money in virtual currency, and they don't know what to do with it. So that is happening right now. And if you know things like this, how to actually go ahead and tax these things, then you can go ahead and you can see the amount of money or the amount of revenue that you can generate from this business. And then, because like I told you, in Bitcoin we have 100,000 validators who are validating the transactions. Here in enterprise solutions we will not have 100,000, but we will still have 30, 40 or 50. So as people from the finance domain, as professionals, we would be given this duty to be node validators, to ensure that everything is happening properly. And there is something which is very mind-blowing, which is internships and research. So these are mostly not even full times, and the screenshot that I've put in here, it is a 6-month fellowship where they're giving you 3,000 DAI. DAI is a stable coin which is pegged to dollars. So it's basically $3,000 per month. That is what they're giving you for research work, sitting at your home, devoting 8 hours of your life. That is not something a lot of people make in the whole year. So that is something you can, if you have this knowledge, this is something where you can go ahead and you can learn all those things.
So we have a few questions that are coming up asking how do we learn more about blockchain or Bitcoin? So what do you suggest, and where can we learn more about these things?
So we have like a course that is there. So I've just collaborated with one of the teachers in this blockchain in CA space, and there we have launched a course, and you can go ahead and you can take that course as well. There's a daily newsletter. So I think Ayushi, you can paste the link of that newsletter. So it's a WhatsApp account where you just have to put in a hi. And there you get, on a daily basis, you get a daily update of the actual news that is happening around you, which I and my team particularly curate for all of you. And then there are videos that come out that I have recently started that as well, to tell people around us that there is nothing where you want to go ahead and you want to, if you want to learn something and something like that, so you can go ahead and you can understand all these things. So these are the ways where you can take the opportunity and you can go ahead and learn. So that is how I've been doing it. And also a lot of people ask where to trade. So if you are a new trader and if you don't want to get into a lot of stuff, Zepe is something that I always recommend. So I think in the links you would have got that link as well.